Okay, so this video is all about a specific aspect of the 340B program, the cash, or some call it indigent card program. So I'm going to walk through all about how this works, the benefits of it, the mechanics of how it works, and at the end, I'm going to talk about an area of abuse that almost everybody has in this program, but almost nobody realizes or monitors or does anything about. So you'll definitely want to stick around for that. Let's get into things right away here. So, what is the cash or indigent card program? This is an important part of anybody's 340B program. If you don't have it, I highly encourage you to have it. You don't need to have it at all your pharmacies, but you should have it at least one of your contract pharmacies. Some national retail chains, specifically like grocery store chains, don't like this program and just refuse to participate in it. But other pharmacies are more than willing to, and I would encourage you to have at least one pharmacy participating in this. And what it does is it allows patients without insurance to access expensive prescription drugs at deep, deep discounts. So they can literally get a $500 drug at the 340B cost of $5. Now, in many cases, that's the only option that these people have. There is no other way that they would be able to afford these drugs and stay compliant. So it's important to have this as an option because people without insurance, this is the only option. It's either they have this program or they do without the drug, which is very unfortunate for them. It's not good medicine. It's not good for us as a society when we have this type of program and aren't able to take advantage of it. So I highly, highly encourage covered entities to have this program if they don't have it already. But let's get into talking more about it and go through kind of the basics of the program. You, as a covered entity, set a policy to determine who is eligible for this. And what you do is you generally tie this policy to your charity care or sliding fee policy. So it's either a part of it or kind of it is tied to it in some way. But generally speaking, the people who are going to be the subject of your charity care sliding fee policy and eligible for that assistance are going to be the same people that are going to be in this indigent card program. And what happens is you get a set of cards, just like commercial insurance cards or PBM cards. You, as the covered entity, are the keeper of those cards, and you use your policy to determine who gets them, and you hand them out. So what happens is somebody's going to fill out their charity care policy and based on or charity care application, and based on your policy and what they have in their application, you determine what they qualify for and what parts of your charity care policy or sliding fee scale they're eligible for, including whether they get one of these indigent cards or not. And the card is going to be just like any other PBM card. It looks like it, it acts the same, it kind of runs the same. The TPA is going to administer this program, and just like any other PBM, there's going to be a specific BIN and PCN associated with this. So you're going to hand them out, then they are going to take it to the pharmacy, and that's where I'm going to continue talking about the basics. And when they go to the pharmacy, it's basically transparent, okay? The pharmacy gets it and they accept it, and it is processed just like any other PBM card. But when they adjudicate the claim here, this is going to be a $0 profit or loss to the covered entity generally. Now you can set it up different ways, and maybe you can set it up so you make a dollar or two on it, but generally speaking, it is zero profit but also zero loss to you, because let's look at the components of what kind of money is collected and what is this all for. So the claims are adjudicated by the TPA, it's routed to a specific BIN and PCN, and then it comes back with the pricing, just like running any other drug through a PBM card. But what the patient pays is they're going to pay the 340B cost of the drug. They're going to pay a dispensing fee to the pharmacy, and the pharmacy will usually accept a lower dispensing fee for this than they would on other drugs. And what you want to try to do is make this zero profit or loss to everybody. So whatever the pharmacy's cost to dispense is, if their time, the vials, the caps, the labor, the switch fees, etc., adds up to $15 a prescription, then that's generally what their dispense fee is. But the idea is this is break even to everybody because we're trying to help out the patient as much. So generally speaking, that pharmacy dispense fee is going to be about whatever they feel their cost to dispense is. And then the admin fee that the TPA charges for processing. You add all three of those together, that's what the patient pays. So every bit of this goes in to cover a cost somewhere, whether it's an admin fee or cost of the drug or pharmacy dispense fee. And there's really nothing left over for the covered entity. So you shouldn't lose money on this program, but you shouldn't expect to make money on it either. So if that's kind of how the program works, let's talk about what some of the benefits of it are. Well, first off, it's patient care and compliance. Like I said, this is the only way that a lot of people can afford some of these drugs, especially people who are uninsured. It's just, if you are uninsured and you are at the lower end of the pay scale, and most places where you are working part-time or a minimum wage job or something and you don't have commercial insurance, if you're at that end of the pay scale, you're certainly not going to be able to afford several $100s a month for an expensive drug. So this is the only mechanism they have for getting these drugs. It is a major part of the 340B program, and the 340B program has been taken some hits of people talking about how covered entities maybe are using it to make some profits, and that is an aspect of the program that if you take care of a lot of patients that are self-pay and uninsured and lose money on those, you're supposed to be able to recoup some of those losses through the 340B program, so that's fine. But you also need to take care of the people that are uninsured, because that's a part of the program as well. Now, for anybody who is operating a hospital, there is a major hidden financial benefit to this. Okay, so let's play this out. Non-compliance with medications is a big reason that people with no insurance wind up visiting the ER. It's because whatever their disease state is, either spikes or progresses or whatever, and they wind up in the ER when that ER visit could have been avoided if they were compliant with their prescription medications. So if we can do this to increase their compliance, what we are going to do is we're going to have healthier patients. It's going to be better medicine. And if they are compliant and healthier, they are less likely to wind up as a self-pay patient in your ER. And self-pay patients in the ER, it's generally not a good payer group. That's generally a payer group where the hospital is going to lose money every time they visit the ER, because you just don't collect that much money from self-pay patients. So there is a hidden financial benefit here in that it keeps them healthier, so they are less likely to visit the ER. So keep that in mind when you're looking at the big picture of all this. Now, I promised at the end that I would talk about an area of abuse in the program that very few people realize even exists, and not hardly anybody monitors or is able to do anything about it. So let's get to the big punchline here. What happens is you issue these cards, and they are generally good for 1 year, and they have a kind of a deactivation date or expiration date. Then the patient has to apply for them again. So during that time frame, you're not seeing or hearing anything about any changes in the patient's status as far as whether they have insurance or not. A lot of people will wind up during that year getting commercial insurance. Maybe somebody was in between jobs. Maybe they have some kind of a seasonal job where they have a commercial insurance part of the year and don't have a part of the year. Could be any number of reasons, but they wind up obtaining commercial insurance during that time when they still have a cash card. So what happens then, and I see this all the time, patients use that commercial insurance card for their cheaper prescriptions, generally generic. So they go in and it's a $4 generic, and they are happy to hand over that $4 because even with a cash card or indigent card, that generic would probably be more expensive using the cash card. But when it's that cheap generic, they hand over their commercial insurance. Then when they have a prescription for a brand drug or any drug with a higher copay, and it's a $25 or $50 copay, they're handing over the cash indigent card because it's cheaper. That's kind of an area of abuse if you've got somebody who really no longer qualifies because they have insurance, but they're continuing to use the cash indigent card. The best way to discover this is really just through a detailed analysis to identify patients that use both cards. To do this, you generally need to look at having the same patient, the same name, the same date of birth, the same address, etc., but you're having prescriptions processed under two different BIN and PCN combinations, usually the cash card and then whatever their commercial insurance. Now, I've done other videos on the importance of analyzing rejected claims. A lot of generic contracts or a lot of 340B contracts exclude generics. So that means if they are using this for a generic card, that's going to fall in the category of rejected prescriptions. So this is another reason to analyze rejected prescriptions. And if your TPA doesn't make those available to you, that's another reason to ask for this as an enhancement so you can do this analysis. And this is extremely common. I always say when it comes to this area of abuse and this part of the 340B program, there's only two types of people out there. There's people who know that they have this as a problem, and there are people who have it as a problem and don't know it. I don't ever see a third category of people who don't have this as a problem at all. If you have the cash card, this is going to happen. Now, to what extent it happens and how closely you monitor it and how much the financial impact is can vary tremendously. Some it's minimal, some it is huge, but it is definitely an area out there that if you are going to have the cash card program, this needs to be monitored because it is a very common and frequent area of abuse that can have a real financial impact on you if you are having prescriptions ran through the cash card program when they would be eligible for 340B as a commercial prescription. So keep that in mind. And finally, my closing slide is I am here to help with all of your 340B needs. There is my contact information. Feel free to reach out to me for anything from an idea for a future video to questions, comments, or anything you might need help with. And please leave me some comments in the section here to let me know what you think of this video. And like and subscribe because I seem to be being pretty well received with these videos. So I'm going to try to keep doing more of them. So thank you guys for watching and hope this helps your 340B program.